Sulie Frelick has been in 2 of my classes now, and both times she's placed herself in the dead center front row. There was a time when I thought that students who sit in the front do so because they want to be the first recipients of wisdom's pearls. But since coming to Geneva, I've had to learn to interpret things more realistically. Andrew Calvetti has helped me do this. The other day, he took something beautiful and innocent and made it savage. He told me what birdsong in the morning really means. If you wake up early enough on a warm morning, you will likely hear thousands of birds singing. What a lovely sound, I thought. Not so. You see, according to Andrew, birds are not singing. They are screaming. What you thought were songs are really bird war cries, meant to be heard by other birds as territorial warnings and ferocious threats. Chirp, chirp. I'm gonna paint this tree with your blood. Tweet, tweet. I'll festoon my nest with your guts. Chirp, chirp. To the last I grapple with thee. Tweet, tweet. From hell's heart I stab at thee. Chirp, chirp. For hate's sake I spit my last breath at thee. Thanks to Andrew, I read the world now like a realist. This helps me analyze Sulie Frelick. She sits down front with a Mona Lisa smile on her face. Before I knew that birds are bards of hate speak, I would have said that Mona Lisa was simply a happy woman. Now I think she's making fun of someone. Maybe Da Vinci made some sort of funny concentration face when he painted. He stuck his tongue out of the corner of his mouth, or maybe he hummed to himself like children hum when they play, when the last bits of infantile insanity are leaving them. You've heard children humming when they play? Well, now you know why Lisa smiled. There she sits, down front, Sulie Mona Lisa Frelick, with that mysterious mucker's grin. She sits far back in her chair, like a gangster, like a hooligan, like a Nero, fiddling silent me-centric jokes while I burn in my face, trying to squeeze comments out of students who wouldn't read an assignment, even if the letters were scratch and sniff scented to smell like Teen Spirit. Here we are now. We're not reading. You look stupid. We're unfeeling. We'll just sit here. Entertain us. We're unchanging. Can you blame us? Here's another thing that I notice now. When I hand out papers to students, even when these papers are very lightly graded, most students don't thank me. And some of them make cruel eye contact and then tear the papers out of my hands as if attempting to cut me. Sometimes I close my eyes briefly when handing a paper back to lessen the pain. And the feeling is exactly the same as if I was Mother Teresa handing out letters from home to insane criminals. But Sulie doesn't tear the papers out of my hand. She takes them gently and says, "Thank you." Every single time. Whether I'm handing out good news or bad. Thank you. Just this morning in the dark while listening to birdsong on my computer, I had an epiphany. When Sulie says, "Thank you," what she means is, "I hate you." Walking into a classroom is difficult for an introverted professor. Some of you teacher types soak up energy from other people like July nudists glutting on vitamin D. But I have to shout my way into society. So I bust into the classroom and say something like, "Greetings," or "Hello, how is everyone?" Absolutely a rhetorical question, a tool to spook the social haunts, but every time, while most students do not answer the question, Sulie answers it. "Excellent." She says every single time. And then to burn me, she says, "How are you?" and I'm caught. I could lie, but Megan Morton recently reminded me that students have eternal souls. So lying to them, lying to students is a lot like lying to any other eternal thing. So if I'm going to lie to students, I have to realize that it knocks rubies off my crown in heaven, leaving behind ugly holes in the gold. Unfortunately, no one's told me how many rubies are on my crown right now, so I don't know how many I can stand to lose. I wish I knew, and that I had a counter-downer device, and then I'd know just how much fun I could afford to have before paradise. Though even if I did lose all the rubies, at least my crown would still be holy. That's for Byron, only for Byron. Anyway, Sulie asks, "How are you?" And I say something like, "I'm okay," and she gives me this sensei nod. Like I've just passed some test or failed it, and either way the nod says, "Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen." But I waver. What if I'm wrong? What if Sulie is nice? What if she sits down front because she likes college and she is a leader by nature? She doesn't cut my hands with paper because that would be awful. And she's not awful. She says thank you because she has a good heart. And when she answers my rhetorical "how are you?" she answers because she understands that this question should never be rhetorical. And then I think, why on earth did I use birds as a lens for viewing people? These questions have led me to another truth. The problem isn't Sulie, it's me. I sit down front so I can mock. I hold papers out to students, but not close. I want them to almost fall out of their chairs to reach them. That is why they grasp. I am the dirty bird. My song is curses, my territory is foul. And now I see that Sulie sits down front to protect other students from me. And I see the ghost of myself when I was a student, sitting in the back row, too terrified to speak, watching the evil professor's eyes seeking me out to wrench comments from me. But I remember there was this kind student there, down in front, answering all questions, deflecting, absorbing the negativity. And now I see that Sulie, all the Sulies of the world are there to protect people like me from ourselves. May all innocent classrooms, metaphorical and otherwise, have guardian Sulies to protect the innocent. Andrew, is it possible, could Sulie be good?
No, totally wicked.
Totally wicked, he says. I thought so. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your tyrant, Sulie Frelick.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Okay. In the first grade, I developed my first crush, Jacob Bronson. A crush that first began to bloom in kindergarten when Jacob saved me from playing with this girl I called Barking Kayla because she never spoke and she only barked, and I did not like that. One evening while chilling with my mother, I decided to share that secret. But I said, "But you can't tell anybody." And my mom said, her exact words, "I promise, I won't tell anyone." Well, the next day at school, Jacob Bronson, my first crush, danced around me all day, taunting me, "You like me, you like me." In furious rage of embarrassment, I picked up a pair of scissors and aimed them at him. "Jacob, stop teasing me." So school ended that day. I got off the bus, walked through the front door. "Ma! That traitor, where the heck is she?" I found my mother hiding behind her bedroom door. "You liar, you told." "Oh look, there's Jesus. Go tell the Romans." That's just a side note, sorry. My mom explained how she had told Jacob's mom, who told Jacob's dad, who told Kayla, who told Sarah, who told Emily, who told Jacob, who teased me. And she started immediately digging through her mother of cards bag, but I wasn't going to be fooled by witch's magic. I am never telling you a secret ever again. In case you're wondering how that crush turned out, it ended about like a year later because he told on me for peeing on the playground. What I brought tonight was a collection of stories that I wrote about my family, because it's probably the most entertaining thing that I have to tell you. Most of it is true. If you find yourself laughing, I would like to congratulate you on your sanity. If you don't laugh, sorry. If you're thinking that I'm going to delve into my soul and reveal something, I think you're an idiot. Some of you, I think, are idiots regardless of what you're thinking. In the back there. Anyway, my last disclaimer is, it tends to be when you hear about other people's families, we tend to glorify them and we imagine them like skipping around and braiding each other's hair and whatnot. But that is not even close to the insanity that has possessed my family. We fall well below the established bar of standards. We're savage hyperboles that are corrupted by laughter and pure amusement. Primitive creatures who have sacrificed any shred of dignity and grace to live out our true natures, which is delirium. My family is completely oblivious to social normities, public values, comfort zones, personal space, and etiquette and rationality of any kind. So, allow me to explain. We are corrupted from the very beginning. My sisters and I, there's 4 of them. My parents, being the fresh Christians they were, rejected material living for a humbler existence. The first 4 of my years of my existence were spent in a barn, which was a single-room shed with a rubber tub, a wood stove, a red toy tractor, and a single window that had a radio player up in it. And my 4 sisters and I were new beings. We were still figuring life out. Apparently, it was a bad idea to poke our neighbor's dog with forks while he was locked in his cage. Whoopsie. Apparently, people aren't witches just because they have cauldrons in their yard. Her name was Merle, and we used to climb a tree and stare at her with binoculars for hours. But these experiences don't compare to the day amusement was instilled into our beings. One day, while traipsing through the woods with our forever hair flying behind us, we all have super long hair, we saw deer feet stuck up in a tree, and we ran home as fast as we could, and we went up to our dad, who we called Papa, and we're like, Papa, Papa, we found deer feet in a tree, which translates to, tell us, O logical one, how did those feet come to arrive in a peculiar place? And amusement overrode truth, and he answered, oh, deer climb trees to get away from hunters, but then their feet fall off. So we had just learned one of our first life-shaking lessons. Laughter trumps factual truth. And it was in that moment that our characters and personalities sprouted like erupting lava. We were changed forever, doomed to follow in the footsteps of the mental generation before us. And when I was 5, my parents decided on some normality, and we moved into your typical society house with electricity and all those goods that we could care less about as children. And it was about that time that my family established this code that's still used. It's a phrase that's waved around like a flag of Frelick patriotism. It's called the Frelick Way. It's used to describe everything we do and everything we are. It is the law, and if you break it, you're going to be punished. I think the first time we acted upon the law and actually carried out a punishment was when I was about like 10-ish. Olivia, who is one of my younger sisters, was picking on her twin Chloe. Harassed her or hurt her in some way. Olivia's a biter, so probably that. Going to our parents would have gotten her, Chloe, a reply along the lines of, well, hit her back. But with that, there'd be an endless cycle of injustice. So Chloe presented herself before the real judicial system, her sisters. And we had deemed Olivia possessed by the demons and decided she needed to be punished for it. So we jumped her, dragged her in the backyard, and duct taped her to a tree and left. Unfortunately, Mom fails to see justice in the same way as we did, and we just cut her down about half an hour later. My sisters and I, we're a tight band of corruption, we are. And being so content with the company of siblings, at one point we decided to learn to defend each other. So as strangers were trying to steal one of us, we were able to defend each other. So training began. We took turns being the victim. Tossed on the trampoline, some poor soul was brutalized. Hannah was a kicker. She's the oldest. Grace, my twin. She's too kind to inflict any real damage, so she doesn't count in that situation. I like to rocket my fist into any flesh. Livia was a biter, and Chloe's specialty was pulling hair. Another core to successful kick butting was pain tolerance. Taking turns, we'd have to dodge rocks for an undisclosed amount of time. These rocks were thrown mercilessly in our direction by 4 sensei masters willing to push you to your utmost limits. If you dodged, you were doing well. And if you didn't, you better keep fighting because no criminal's gonna stop because you got wounded. And Grace hated this game, and she refused to participate. But voluntary is not an option in life and death. So, using our sisterly witchy magic ways, we'd coax her outside, and as soon as she shut the door, we'd lock it, and then we'd all pelt her with rocks. She was going to be a warrior by free choice or otherwise. There was no room for weak links in our sister defenses. Needless to say, we took our relations seriously. And it was in our youth, that Frelick sisters, that we created a bond of unshakable loyalty until we took turns being 13. That was awful. Any idiot could have seen there was something off about the Frelick clan. I had a speech impediment. Every time I said river, it was Rivy, and the world was the world. Apparently, I still have it. Chloe was afraid of puppies. Grace told bedtime stories that always started, once upon a time, Hanger was walking down the road. Olivia tried to run away once by grabbing a loaf of bread off the counter and standing in the backyard for 10 minutes in the dead winter. And Hannah had a giant Chad Michael Murray poster. Our parents, of course, played a big role, as all parents should. Unfortunately, while most kids get role models, we got, I guess the correct phrase is someone choked their Etch-a-Sketch. My mother, for example, treats everyone equally. No difference in social class, intelligence level, or age places any kind of bias on such a conniving beast. Coming home from school was utterly terrifying. Hide and seek is a beloved game in my family. But things got real serious when our mother joined in. All the weightless non-responsibility of childhood abandoned us the moment we walked in the door and instincts took over. Somewhere in the house, Mom is hiding in wait to pounce on her victims, ready to induce a reverent fear, hence the nickname Poacher. Closets, under beds, between the walls and furniture. Once my mom, she took all the pots and pans out of a cupboard and stuffed them under her bed so she could climb in and hide in it. And guess who got it? Our dad came into play with his fascination of uncivilized laughter at the Walmart. He used to take trash cans off this shelf, and he'd set each of us in one and put them back. So that when our mom walked by, we could all jump out and induce a 5-stage heart attack. He also liked to play games that encourage us to pull out our inner insanity for the whole world to see. His specialty was public embarrassment. He'd hike up his pants real high and hunch over, and he'd be like, "These are my girls," and wherever we go in public. And he likewise encouraged it. And so in likewise societal retaliation, we ran on all fours and barked at strangers. One of many great ideas. But sister bonds don't always hold out as you'd like them to. 4th grader me was in the Walmart. when Hannah noticed I was wearing her shirt. First, we wreaked havoc in a frenzy of running. I can't say if I was caught from inability to evade her or like just the clutches of an older sister is terrifying and stops you in your running away. Either way, I was had, and in a foul swoop, Hannah demanded never again to be trifled with and ripped the shirt right off me. Utter terror overtook me. So I grabbed the closest shirt I could find off a rack. Unfortunately, an employee caught me, missed the skirmish, and merely presumed I was stealing something. So she chased me. But grown-ups should never underestimate the quickiness, I suppose you'd say, of a fear-stricken child who's raised in delirium. Because I gave her the slip. And I found my mom casually scanning dishware she's never gonna buy. And I was like, Mama! I wanted justice, and I was cried the entire time I was talking to her, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna milk this, like Hannah's gonna get it. And so when Hannah came walking by, she was in no match for my mother, and she's like, Hannah, you give your sister that shirt back right now. And nobody disobeys an embarrassed mother. So. But my mom wasn't always justice. Sometimes she was a dictator. I do believe that was a nickname for her during bedtime hours. At 9 p.m., Mom would lay us all in bed and proceed to the living room where she'd beg the gods with libations to keep us there. At 9:05, Olivia would climb onto Chloe's top bunk. Okay, Chloe's room, baby's room, the smaller guys, and the rest of us in this room. They would climb onto Chloe's bed, and there was this hallway above our closet, and then they would both climb through the hallway and onto my bunk bed, which then we would casually open this window that was so conveniently by my bed, and we'd take a 5-foot drop to freedom. But our mom was no dummy. She knew better. She knew who she was raising. So she'd come bursting outside and she'd be like, girls! We immediately retreated, hoisting one another to the confines of oppression. I remember one time we had Chloe in mid-lift when we heard Mom coming to check on us. So we dropped that chump and we shut the door. And we shut the window. We all pretended to be sleeping. And Mom comes bursting through the bedroom door. Ooh. Mom comes bursting through the bedroom door, and she's like, that's it. She's like, where's Chloe? And we're like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sleeping. Just kidding. And so Mom starts searching the house for Chloe, looking for her. So we hurry up and we open the window back up and we pull Chloe up. And before she got a chance to crawl across, my mom comes back in and she's like, what are you doing in this room? Chloe and I played the innocent act, snuggling cheek to cheek. We're like, we're having a sleepover. Olivia, immediately enticed, came through the hallway and back on my bench like, I want to sleep over too. And so my mother's answer was the same as always, and she said, one rule, you better go to sleep. And of course we ignored that. Going to events and other various outings have always been events in themselves. Frelick's walk into territories that are compact, gained, unswayed by niceties. We take up tons of space, goof off, and cackle at everything. My family, who have no volume control, act as though we are the only people in the room and we are therefore the loudest. When people try to come over and talk to us in public, we all collapse on each other and pretend to be sleepy. When there's food, we rush the line, easily pushing old hags and babies out of the way. Then we devour like a tornado, leaving nothing in our wake. But our parents couldn't abandon responsibility completely, of course, and therefore the only true taste of freedom we had is when they weren't around. At least until the phrase was drafted on some white bond paper a phone call away. The house had better be spotless by the time I get home. Of course. It was times like these we weren't going to let imperialism get us down. Or maybe we were. When cleaning, we always played a game we called Mother May I. So we'd voluntarily grab the fly swatter, give it to Hannah, who would sit on the couch and order us around what we can clean. And so we'd go up to Hannah and be like, Mother, may I fold the laundry? And she'd be like, yes, you may. Mother, may I sweep the living room? No, you vacuum out the couch, which is the worst job. But if ever you disobeyed, Hannah would quite literally beat you with the fly swatter. I don't know why we like that game. Fortunately for us kids, our dad never seemed to fully integrate himself into the adult world. When Mom had longer work hours, we'd move all the furniture into the kitchen and we'd roll up all the carpets and put them in there. And then we'd roll around the house as our own homemade roller rink. And one time Mom came home and caught us all rollerblading, and she's like, "What the heck do you think you girls are doing? I told you not to do this so many times." And our dad came around the corner on a bicycle. But that doesn't mean that our mother was always serious. Picture second grade me. I'm about 2 inches shorter. I had hair like blonde Pocahontas. My hair used to be super long. And I was wearing a dress and pants and sneakers because I was cool. And also dressed by my mother. But I came skipping off the bus and into the house, and I approached my mom and I was like, "Hey Mom," and she turned around. I remember her looking at me and she's like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Ha ha ha, you're so funny." And I was like, "But seriously, like I've got some questions that need answering." But she insisted and she was like, "Who are you? Get out of my house." And all of a sudden I was like, "Ooh, this jank is serious. This is not funny." And I was like, "Mom, this is not funny. You better remember me right now." But she was relentless, and she was serious. My mom didn't know who I was, and she couldn't remember me. So there I was, lying on the floor in a pathetic pool of tears, utterly broken. But no beast lets a moment slide. So she looked down at me, she said, "I'm just kidding. I know who you are, Grace." So we continued to live as mongrels throughout our middle school years. So naturally, as we hit high school, we had forged sister bonds that overcame bullies. Livia is a fearful opponent in that world. We began to accept allies into our bond, but being an ally to the Frelicks is not for everyone. Our friend Mary came over to play one time in 9th grade, and she came over and she was dressed in all black. And immediately we were like, "Let's match." So we all changed our clothes, dressed in all black. But being Frelicks, it just couldn't leave it there. Mary to the end of the driveway. And when we got there, we set up our circle of candles around us, and we sat in the middle in complete silence for about an hour. Minus like a couple minutes that we decided to start chanting and burn things in the middle of our circle. The next day at church, there were so many questions, and my mom was thoroughly mortified. And so when I came to college, I somehow thought that we would all even out and be accepted into the folds of normality, but I was wrong. Last year, my mother picked me up, as she do, and at one point, I looked in the rear view mirror, and I saw something really strange, and I was like, "Mom, what the heck is that?" And she's like, "Oh, that's Scuzzy," so nonchalant. Scuzzy is a furry stuffed thing with eyes and limbs, and he was buckled in the back seat. Apparently my dad had bought Scuzzy at a yard sale a few weeks back, and he took him with him everywhere he went. Engorging himself in the Frelick way, though, he had screwed 2 little tiny loops above the passenger car window, and he strung a string through it, and one end he tied to Scuzzy's arms. And the other he held in his hands while driving so he could wave at people as he went. Oh goodness. And since my family has not calmed down, and I do hope that they never will, being a Frelick is like God's way of deeming certain members of society unfit to go anywhere else. So we're just grouped together like the miscellaneous drawer. We're overflowing in creativity and playfulness, but we're twice as lacking in sanity and that any normal family should. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Being a family of hoodlums is a guarantee of being made fun of, ridiculed and tortured, and utterly enjoy every minute of it. Being a Frelick is one of the most challenging things I'll ever do in my life, and probably one of the biggest blessings that I could ever hope to receive. That's it. Hope you enjoy it.